YouTube found a community, Peter and Gordon fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about A World Without Love, the debut album from Peter and Gordon, released in America in June of 1964. The British counterpart was just called Peter and Gordon, but this was definitely capitalizing on the massive success of that lead-off single, A World Without Love, famously written by John and Paul from the Beatles, mostly Paul, but a number one smash hit for them. This song was massive and obviously one of the most well-remembered songs they ever did, so obviously they're going to name the album after it. Something I found of particular interest, though, is usually with albums like that from the 60s, if there was like a really big hit single, that's usually the first song on the album. They bury A World Without Love at the end of side one, so they make you listen to the whole thing before getting to that one song people knew already. So that's kind of a clever trick on their part. A World Without Love, the single, went to number 1 in the US. This album went to number 21 in the US. This album by Peter and Gordon is really entertaining. I mean, you're instantly drawn into their vocal harmony, and I think that was probably the biggest appeal of them, was their voices were so gentle and calm, and that combination was reminiscent of the Everly Brothers, but with a slight twist, making it that British beat combo kind of sound. So for me, whenever I hear anything on this album, I'm instantly like, yeah, I can dig this, because I love A World Without Love, I Go to Pieces, all those songs. So hearing this thing in full was like, man, there's some good stuff on here. And even their more rockin' moments are like, yeah, I'm digging it. It's a really solid album. It opens up with the cover of Lucille, the Little Richard song, and they do a great job with it. Those classic Peter and Gordon harmonies over a really percussive-led track. I feel like the drums kind of lead the charge on this one. It's an excellent start to the LP. It's just a really spirited take, good energy, upbeat, but not like, over the moon exciting, but like just enough to be like a bit more of a rumble, if you will. Definitely ear-catching for sure. And then you get 500 Miles, which is a complete left turn. It's a completely acoustic track, but those harmonies are tight on this thing. It definitely gives the Everly Brothers a run for their money almost, but it's undeniably endearing in their delivery. What's even more cooler is that they take vocal solos where they aren't just doing harmony the whole time, and hearing those solos is great because when they do come back to going together for harmony again, that payoff is like, wow, you really feel that energy come back when they sing together. So it's nice to hear them sing on their own, but then when they come back together, that magic is like, phew, excellent spark. Great emotion, nice gentle ballad. If I Were You is on here, and this is a Peter and Gordon original. It was the B-side to A World Without Love, and this song is just wonderful. It's got just enough of an edge with those minor chords to make it a super effective listen. They had a knack with their songwriting that was always like a slightly jazzy feel in terms of how they would throw in like a really, I won't use the word bizarre, but like a not so common chord for like a real brief second to create such a hook. They were experts at that stuff. And I'm not sure if they just innately knew how to write that, or if they were hanging around with the Beatles, or what that was like, but when they do pull that off, you memorize those hooks. And this song is definitely one of those moments. That glowing organ that shows up on this thing is definitely reminiscent of A World Without Love. So if you had bought the single, the B-side would have been something you would have really enjoyed as well. But their songwriting skills are right up there with stuff like A World Without Love. And that's a hell of a song. So great track with this one. Pretty Mary's up next. And this is a bit of a folk song here. Really good guitar work on this acoustic number. And it's one of those songs where I can really hear like Denny Doherty doing this from the Mamas and the Papas. Like I can really picture an excellent Mamas and the Papas version of this song. Again, the harmonies draw you in. Great track. Trouble in Mind. This one's really cool. Back to the rock again. And the backing track on this one feels very Dylan-esque. Something he would have recorded with his electric band at the end of 64 into 65. It's got that loose, kind of free-spirited reign to it. And it's just a really cool, real smooth, rockin' good time. And then side one ends with the classic A World Without Love. I mean, what more can be said about this track? It's awesome. That little guitar refrain is instantly like, oh, I know that song. But the tension and resolve that occurs in this song over and over again is amazing. How they can build just a slight amount of tension and bring you right back to that chord again for the resolve. You're instantly hooked over and over again. The emotion, the drama, the feeling, the vibe. You're just sucked into this little world, and they nail it. And obviously their vocals have a big part to do with this, but the music itself is catchy and very well constructed. It's just a great song and a 60s classic, and something they should be totally proud of. Side 2 opens with Tell Me How, and this is a really cool 60s pop song with some very sprightly drums, a bendy, clean tone guitar solo, and those magical harmonies. It would have been a great B-side. It's an excellent track, one of my favorites in the album, which is funny because they have Tell Me How, and the next song is You Don't Have to Tell Me. So Tell Me How, you don't have to tell me. I wonder if someone at Capitol was like, this will be funny. But this is a Peter and Gordon original. Again, another one. This is great. I love the stops on this thing. And again, those escalated chords that appear briefly, returning back to that starting chord. It's so effective, and it's such a great trick for writing a hook, because you're instantly caught into that world of like, where's this going to go next? And when you get to that resolve, you're like, oh, what a good feeling. So you want to hear it again. So they were excellent at writing hooks. Really well written track. Leave My Woman Alone. This is like, it's an up-tempo rocker. It's really fun. It grooves the whole way through, but I can't imagine Peter and Gordon being like, hey, leave my girl alone. We're going to beat you guys up, or Peter and Gordon. Like, it's got that feel to it of the lyrically. It's like, you know, hey, watch it. Hey, but these guys are too sweet. I can't picture them beating somebody up. All My Trials, the folk song, is up next. Moody and Calmly sung. Really good bass playing, surprisingly enough. I'm not sure who's playing bass on this album, but it's really good. Nice track on that one. And the last one, Last Night I Woke, another Peter and Gordon original. So we got a few Peter and Gordon songs on here. But I love the energy in this one. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. And again, they wrote this one. Warm, tight vocals, spirited playing, a great choice for a B-side. This is one of those songs where it's like, man, if we get a whole album of originals by Peter and Gordon in that kind of style, you'd have an excellent album on your hands. Regardless, this already is a great album, but having an album full of their own originals would have been really, really cool, but I dig what they did with this thing. Here's the back cover. What I find interesting, too, is it lists the songs with the timestamp, but not who wrote them. And that's kind of rare for the time, especially for Capitol. They loved putting credits everywhere. I don't have the original sleeve anymore. I've got it in one of these MoFi sleeves. Hey, MoFi, send me free stuff. And really nice shape records in gorgeous condition on the old Capitol Rainbow label. And this only came out a few months after Meet the Beatles. So it was definitely riding that wave of Beatlemania. And the back cover mentions that too. You know, they mentioned that John and Paul wrote A World Without Love for them. And they mentioned just the amount of British bands that were coming over at that time. And they also say that at one point, you know, the biggest thing to hit the American music scene since Peter and Gordon. So whatever was going to come next would be like, you know, they'd be the next showrunner of being like, oh, these guys are following up Peter Gordon now. So I love this album. It's great. I love the cover, the layout. I'm a sucker for the Capitol style. It's just a cool look. But musically, well played. Those vocals are timeless and classic. Huge fan of these guys. So for me, this is easily an 8 out of 10 album. It's solid. I wish there were more originals. That's my only hiccup, is I would lose a couple covers to get 2 more originals on there, because the few that are on here are excellent. They were great songwriters, and I think more people need to recognize their talents with that. So, you know, as early as this was, they were 18 and 19 years old. They were kids, and they were writing solid songs, and they were really expert singers. So, I mean, great stuff from these guys. Peter and Gordon. So I'm going to give it an 8, I think. There you go. My name is Giggens. This has been Peter and Gordon, A World Without Love, released in Capitol in June of 1964. What are your thoughts on this album? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll chat about Peter and Gordon. But thank you so much for watching. My name is Giggens, Peter and Gordon. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye.